Hawkins.
We need you in front of the mic.
Oh, I apologize. Good afternoon. I'm Jennifer Hawkins, the Executive Director of One Neighborhood Builders. This is King Street Commons. It is a 62-unit affordable housing development, and we are proud to welcome Governor McKee and Secretary Pryor to this development. We just met with some residents, which I'm sure they will be happy to speak with you about. So I just wanted to welcome you and turn it over to these fine fellows. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks, and thanks for the tour. We were here for the ribbon cutting back in, I think, the summer of 21, right? The ribbon
correct.
cutting here. So it's great to hear that the facility is really looking really good. And visiting, I just visited a couple who has a couple kids there in their home. Beautiful setting, and we want to do more of that. So we're here today to not only recognize the work that's being done here, but also to recognize the work that is going to be done in the state of Rhode Island over the next several years. And happy that Stefan Pryor is the second day as the incoming Secretary of Housing, along with Hannah. I don't know if Hannah's here or not today.
Yes,
Hannah's
sir.
around here somewhere, but we're looking forward to continue the work that has been in place, both from all types of housing in the state of Rhode Island, working with our municipal leaders. I just had a meeting with them in my office, about 6 or 7 of them, and we're bringing them in 6 or 7 at a time. And housing is at the top of their list. And as I said at my State of the State, I don't believe there's a community in the state of Rhode Island that does not want to do its part in terms of expanding the housing opportunities in our state. And with that, I'll hand it over to Stefan so he can say a couple words, and he's going to be open to a couple questions as well.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Stefan.
Governor, thank you for this opportunity. Really appreciate it. Jen, thank you for the magnificent work that you continue to do through One Neighborhood Builders right here and elsewhere, and more in store. So, Jen, we're very grateful. And it's crucial that we support our developers, especially those that are so committed to the community as they advance their work. That's how it gets done. So thank you. Governor, this is a moment of opportunity. There are enormous challenges in front of us, but it's so clear that Rhode Island is united with the conviction that we do more to produce housing at every income level, and that in doing so, we protect the vulnerable, including individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to do more on all of those fronts. I think it's a tremendous privilege to enter this position at this moment in time, because obviously we didn't wish for the challenges that our state faces on the housing front, but it has produced that mandate, and we must seize the moment. So that is in fact what we're going to do. I'm pleased that there is the beginnings of a housing department. And there are some outstanding professionals who are doing work every single day for the state. There are municipal leaders and workers who are hard at the job as well. There are developers, there are advocates, and there are providers who are getting the job done best they can with what in the past has been an under-resourced scenario, and now we're seeing resources applied. Thank you, Governor McKee and General Assembly, including the Speaker and the Senate President. We have $250 million that are applied to the task. That's a lot of money. It's also not sufficient. We have more work to do. We have proposed and enacted into law the first in memory recurring funding stream for housing, but it'll only accumulate a handful of $1 million a year. We've passed new bond issuances. All of these things are outstanding accomplishments, and in some cases represent record levels of investment, but they're still not enough. So we have work to do. That work breaks down into 3 big categories. Category 1 is housing production. We need to get out of the scenario where Rhode Island is bottom of the list or close to it for the rate of housing production compared to other states. We can do better. We also need to, in that first category, we need to focus on affordability, including the most vulnerable residents of our state who struggle the most. Second category of 3, homelessness. We need to increase the intensity of our focus on helping individuals and families who are experiencing homelessness. there has been a significant increase in shelter availability, in warming centers, and we've begun the process of building permanent supportive housing for the homeless community, among other vulnerable communities. We must do more. As the governor himself has said, it's predictable that winter will come next year. So the governor and I are committed to ensuring that we are ever better prepared, and the planning begins now for next winter. Third of three categories, the housing organization that will help to drive this work. We need to continue the reorg process that Governor McKee has already started. We are very blessed that the governor has included more than 20 new positions in his budget for the housing department. We need to build the department in earnest. We need to unify the varying divisions of the state that work on housing. We need to create a coherent system that helps with the aforementioned activities. And if we get all of that going, it'll be a very good start, and we'll still have work to do. So we're so pleased to be at the task. We know that Rhode Island can lead the way. We led the way in terms of economic recovery coming out of COVID under this governor, with this General Assembly. Right here in Rhode Island, we led the way for the Northeast, and indeed one of the leaders for the country. We've led the way on public health measures throughout the pandemic and under Governor McKee. We know we can lead the way on housing. Now we start in earnest. Questions?
Okay, we're gonna start with Dan first.
Secretary, so when it comes to the homeless population here in Rhode Island, there's been much to do with that. But the middle class, when it comes to people who can't afford the rental hikes, people who are looking for just those 1 or 2 bedroom apartments, you have multiple years of experience. Coming in just your second day, what is your priority in addressing that?
Housing production. What's essential is that we find the ways, working in concert with cities and towns, to produce more housing. I would argue that in the modern history of Rhode Island, there has not been a governor with a better relationship with our municipalities. Governor McKee was a mayor. He has authentic relationships with mayors and town managers across the state. Suburban, rural, urban communities, all of the above. We can make progress based on honoring those relationships, identifying the priorities for cities and towns, and providing new tools and mutual commitments and mutual accountability to get the work done. Our housing market is overheated. We're in a sense a victim of our own economic success. We have such a strong economy, plenty of vulnerabilities, don't get me wrong, lots of work to be done there. But we've had such a strong economic recovery, and we've seen such strides that the housing market is tight, and there are other reasons for it, including the inability of some towns that have wished to build housing to do so. So we've got work to do there, and as a result, we'll succeed in building middle-income housing and housing stock across all income levels. The last thing I want to say on that, though, is we do need to be deliberate about affordability across the board, inclusive of what some call workforce housing. It's a little bit of an outmoded term, so forgive me for its use, but it expresses the term. Workforce housing, that middle bracket, is extraordinarily important.
Secretary, you are excellent in your communications work, as is the governor. Do you intend to continue your contract with Duffy and Shanley to handle communications work, or are you going to redirect that money towards other priorities?
At this point, I'm taking a look at all of the staffing and all of the contracting that has been arrived at, and taking a look at what we need going forward. So I'm not going to comment on any one feature of that, but I can tell you that we look forward to building a strong organization that's equal to the task as the governor has charged us with.
So you won't need Chris Rea to accompany you to every event to speak for you?
I'm in no way specifically speaking to any one contract.
All right.
Governor Tom from the WPRO. 2 questions. First off, your thoughts on the Wall Street Journal article today that pretty much outlines how bad the homelessness crisis is throughout all of the New England states. And then secondly, and Secretary Pryor, you might be able to answer this as well. Are you willing to do an audit of where the money is being used, a lot of Speaker Shikarchi has talked with Gene Valcenti about all the money that's gone to Crossroads and a lot of the different agencies. So are you willing to do an audit to try to figure out what's being spent where and if it's being spent correctly?
You want to take the second question first?
Take the second question first, and I'll take the first
Yes,
question
sir.
second.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will be undertaking an assessment of the expenditures, the contracts, the performance measures across the board, internal to the state, external, in terms of those procured and contracted for services. We're gonna conduct an assessment. An audit has specific meaning. I'm not using that term, but I'm responding to your question. We're going to assess all of the above. It'll be, once we conduct our work, that'll be taken into account as we think anew about the reorganization, and we think about the contracts and activities going forward.
Why would you do an assessment over an audit? Why don't you feel like an audit
It's just
would
that
be
an audit has
necessary?
specific meaning. In some instances, there might be specific financial methods that are utilized. In some instances, it wouldn't be an audit per se.
I haven't read the Wall Street Journal, but if they're saying there's a homelessness issue nationally in New England and Rhode Island, I would agree with that. And we expect that, just like anything else, just like Stefan said, we expect to do the very best that we can, and that should bring us to that point where we're the very best at doing the work that we're doing, including homelessness.
Well, just a follow-up to that, on the radio this morning, people were pointing out a lot of encampments that keep on popping up throughout the state. Would the state be interested in looking into a database to, as you try to prepare for next winter, build a database in which you know where all these encampments are, and maybe a company that works directly with you instead of some of these advocate groups?
Stefan can take that.
It is important that we understand the potential demand among client individuals and families for beds or for warming center slots. It's very important. We're going to take a look at the system as it stands. We're going to look at the federal laws and rules on how such work is conducted. And we're also going to go about this work as human beings, working with fellow human beings. I'm proud of the fact that Assistant Secretary Hannah Moore and I, as we've gotten started, we've already twice gone out with outreach workers to meet homeless individuals and families where they are, and to understand what they're experiencing during this particular winter, including on the extremely cold Friday evening. We were out there, and we want to understand the conditions as human beings working with fellow human beings. So we'll be doing all the above.
You have an idea of how many encampments there are?
That is a figure that will be included in our overall look at the system.
Steve, did you have a question?
No, go ahead.
No? Okay.
Governor, the performance this weekend of the Cranston Street Armory location has been largely described by many individuals as disastrous. One state legislature rep went so far as to apologize for his constituency for the lack of redundancy in heating, the failure to build it out over the months that it's been open, not having a real plan as to where to transfer people at the last minute, bringing people to an already overburdened Harrington Hall. What lessons did we learn from this weekend, since, as we all agree, as Secretary Pryor said in the run-up, that winter happens every year? And frankly, why wasn't there planning in place for an event like this weekend months ago?
Well, first of all, I'm very, I want to thank the staff at DCAM, National Guard, Emma's House, as well as our staff, who is, going above and beyond on a weather condition that, impacted people around the state of Rhode Island, whether they were in a shelter or whether they're in their home or whether they're in the, the convention center or whatnot. So that was handled very well. And I was there. I physically went there with Stefan on Saturday night. I saw exactly what was going on. I toured the facility. We opened up a few days in advance, 40 different shelter beds, which is in a really good spot on Hartford Avenue. We opened that up early, a day early or 2 days early. And so we transitioned people to beds. I'm not aware of anyone who was looking for a shelter that did not have a shelter on Friday night or Saturday night.
Yet folks reported all
More
day,
questions,
all
Rick?
day Saturday, that they were cold, and people reported from that location. And in addition to that, there are bathrooms. You have to go. I think we're back to going outside to go to the bathroom.
All right, we have one more question. Yep.
Governor, tonight the president's going to speak at the State of the Union. He's likely to talk about COVID and ending the COVID emergency in May. When do you anticipate ending the COVID emergency?
Yeah, we're planning for that. I'm actually pleased that COVID will be in the rearview mirror, you know, on a national level, and when that happens, we'll be assessing the impact to Rhode Island. But we feel as though we're in a good position right now relative to the way that we've attacked the health issue, the economic issue, the school issues. We'll follow the lead of the national, agenda, including that the president sets, and then we'll respond to that once it happens.
So you'll end it when the same day the president ends it, or before that?
I would say that it'll be very, it'll be matched up to what the national decision is, and I appreciate the president's leadership over at least the time I've been governor to address this in a way that Rhode Island has benefited from the national effort and the president's effort to make sure that we've received the funding that we've needed to keep programs going, and now we're ready to transition.
All right, that's it. Thank you, guys.
With whom did you
Nope,
meet
that's it.
over
Thank
here,
you.
and what did you glean from this?
Yeah, so we met with a couple that has 2 children. The house was beautiful. Certainly as nice as any home that I've been in. So that we thank Jen for the effort here and the work that's being done. And I don't want to get into much of the personal conversation we had, but I can tell you prior to having the housing here, that the individuals that were in that house were struggling in housing, and so that it helped fit a need, and we're going to repeat that over and over again as many times as we need to.
Yes, we are.
All right, thanks
Governor,
everybody.
I'm not from the media, but can I share something and point out a